Hi, I'm Tim Bartz, Internet Sales Manager here at McArthur Ford in Salina, Kansas, your source for Ford news, update, and information, including your scheduling information today as we cover what's scheduling for those orders for this Thursday, March 5th, 2026. So not a lot of scheduling actually that's going to be probably happening this week. This is still, they have, I think we have till the end of this week to get all of the everything in for scheduling for next month. So new sets of allocations don't go into effect until next week. So this is the last week of those May scheduling dates in here. I believe it's May. So there won't be a lot of scheduling, just like last week for most of those, and even less for even like some F-150s and Super Duties, maybe the only one scheduling. So let's jump into this and kind of go over this. Now, if you're new to this, of course, first make sure you're subscribed with the bell notification turned on so you don't miss any of our videos. But also, let's go over some of the scheduling terminology that we might talk about in this video. So if you haven't watched that, check this part out. And then otherwise, if you watched it before, go to the timestamp for your model. If you're looking to get your specific model scheduled for production date, we'll have timestamps for each of the different models as well down below. Now, on this, what we're talking about here is when orders are scheduled, those orders are, or I should say, when people put deal orders in, they're put in the order bank. And that is where dealer places all their stock and their retail orders. Now, a retail order, that is a customer placed order. That is, Ford knows that is going to be a sold order for that dealer for a particular customer that ordered it. Now, a stock order, that is an order that's placed by the dealer for their stock or their lot inventory, what they would have on their lots. The priority code, that's a priority that's given to orders by the dealers. So 03 through 19 is a retail order type, and 20 to 80 is a stock order type. Now, the lower the better, which is why retail orders are always looked at first, and an 03 will be looked at before a 19. Now, 19 is a default for retails, and 20 is a default for stock. Scheduling, that is when Ford schedules an order for production dates in future months. So that's kind of what we're talking about in this video. So production date, that is when Ford plans to build your vehicle. And first it'll get scheduled to the week, and as it gets closer, it'll get scheduled to the actual day. Now, allocations, that's a big one. Allocations is where Ford gives dealers allocations to schedule their orders. A dealer needs an allocation to get an order scheduled in the order bank. So a dealer earns those allocations based on their sales of each model within their region. So if a dealer doesn't have an allocation, they can't get an order scheduled. Just have an order in there is not good enough. Now, constraints, that's an option that may be in short supply or take longer to build. And that could be based on the next one, which is the capacity. That is the planned production rate of a given motor, trim, or option. So when the amount of orders is over the capacity, that's where we get that constraint where it might take longer to get scheduled or longer to build for that reason. Now, job 1 and 2, production does get split into different job runs. If they want a particular, maybe there's a cool feature or something they want to add, and it's not ready at the beginning of the model year, they'll go ahead and start it with job 1s and then reintroduce those into job 2. Or if they get a supply issue where they can't make something, they can make those changes for the second half of the year, and that's when you'll see that job 2 changes. Balance out, that's the end of production, or what they call the balance out a particular option or model. Usually we see that balance out at the end of a certain model year before switching over to the next model year. So there's the scheduling, or the terminology there for this. Let's jump in here now and start talking about the 2026 Mustang here. Order banks are open up for the Mustang, and they are not scheduling this week. Of course, they've already scheduled out all their production for those May production dates in there. So, all right, next up is a 26 model year Bronco Sport. Order banks are open up for them as well, and they are not scheduled this week. Again, they've already scheduled out all their May production for that month, and most dealerships have used all their allocations. Next up is the 26 model year Bronco. Order banks are open up for the Bronco, and they are not scheduling as well this week. And again, all of their May production has already been scheduled out. And that is, I believe, this next month for Bronco will be the balance out for job 1. So if you're somebody that wants that carp gray, then there you go. And if you're somebody that wants, you want to make sure you get that order in so it can get scheduled next month, because that'll be the end of carbonized gray for the 26 model year. Now, if you're wanting that new color, Orange Fury, then that won't be available to start scheduling until June production. So you'll want to get those orders in too. Those order banks for job 2 ought to be coming up, as well as some other changes too. So we did a video on that. You might want to check that out in our last week's scheduling, or last week's live stream. We talked about that. All right, next up is the 26 model year Mustang Mach-E. Order banks are open up, and just like with the others, it is not scheduled this week either. It's already scheduled out all the May production that it plans to do. Next up, 26 model year Explorer. Order banks are open up for the Explorer. They are not scheduling either. Just like the other models, they have already scheduled their May production dates, or May production scheduling has already happened. Next up, 26 model year Expedition. Order banks are open up for the Expedition. They are not scheduled this week either. Most of that scheduling they did finish up last week. Next up is the 26 model year Maverick. Maverick order banks are open up. They are not scheduled this week as well. And I believe they are almost done with job 1 scheduling. Means job 2 should be coming soon, which also means that the sliding rear window for the XLT should be coming available real soon. There you go. Next up, 26 model year Ranger. Order banks are open up. Again, no scheduling for the Ranger either. They've already scheduled theirs out too. So there's all the vehicles, the models that are not scheduling this week. But let's talk about the models that are scheduling this week. And one of those is the 26 model year Super Duty. Order banks are open up for the Super Duty. And they are going to be scheduling at Kentucky Truck Plant for the weeks of April 6th to the weeks of April 13th. And for Ohio for the weeks of April 20th to the weeks of April 27th. So they're scheduling for those 2 weeks at those 2 plants. It does say, due to unforeseen production disruptions, you may notice that your build week has shifted. So some of those build weeks might have moved. Actually, that happens all the time, but it must have been a lot more impactful this way. Now, it does say best availability gets scheduled. F-250 and F-350 XL version, plus the regular cab, plus single rear wheel. Also, another best availability is F-250 and F-350 plus the XLT version without the bucket seats, and regular cab with the single rear wheel. So they do need some of those, basically saying if you put that order in, they will schedule them. All right. Here are some of the other availabilities here. F450, the availability is about 4 to 5% of the production, and there is about 5% unscheduled retail orders out there. So actually pretty close there. The Platinum Plus package, 1 to 2% is what they plan to produce of the Platinum Plus package, and there's about 2% unscheduled retail orders in the order banks out there. Crew cab version, that would be any crew cab, right? Their production on that is 22 to 24% of those. 13% of the orders, unscheduled retail orders out there, have the crew cab, which well below that, right? Next up is the 6.7 liter high output Power Stroke diesel engine. 8 to 10% is a production level on those. That, when I say 8 to 10% production level, that means of the total amount of Super Duties, 8 to 10% will have that engine in it, right? The high output engine. 7% of the retail orders. So of all the orders that are placed that are unscheduled still in the retail order bank, and that's those customer placed orders, 7% of them are unscheduled. So that is with this engine. So that's within that capacity. So which is good as long as your dealer has an available allocation, right? That still has some bearing on it. So heavy duty alternator, standard on the 7.3 liter and 6.8 gas pickup, 0 to 1.5%, and only 1% of the unscheduled retail orders have that. Tonneau pickup box cover, soft folding and or hard folding or retractable, 0 to 0.5% is availability. So very low. So I would recommend pulling that off of your order. But according to this, 1% of the retail unscheduled retail orders have that on there, one of those 3 tops or covers, I should say. So again, take those off, because that could be the one thing that might be holding yours up and getting scheduled. 5th wheel gooseneck hitch prep package, that is optional. A lot of configurations. 8 to 9% is the production level of that, and 9% of the unscheduled retail orders have that on there. So that is right within that number. maybe a little over, but that's maybe a reason why. The bucket seats for XLT and Lariats, that production is 7 to 8%, and there's 5% unscheduled retail orders. So that's really not holding it up too much. They are telling you to take those off, but right now I'd hold true to that because it's still within their production numbers. Again, as long as your dealer has an allocation. Lariat Premium Package, and the Lariat Ultimate Package. Both of those are at 1 to 3% production, and both of them are at 3% of the unscheduled retail orders. So maybe a little over, a little heavy in a way of retail orders. And so some of those may struggle to get scheduled because of that. Vinyl seats for the XL version, 3 to 5%. Only 1% of the orders have that. So not going to be a constraint there. The Tremor Off-Road Package, that is optional on about every trim level except for XL, 1 to 3%. That used to be a higher number, but now it's 1 to 3%, but only 1% of the unscheduled retail orders have that on there. So well within production, should be good to go with the Tremor Off-Road Package. The 20-inch Bright Machine aluminum wheel, that's your wheel that's on the King Ranch version. 0 to 0.5%. So not very many wheels are made, King Ranch wheels. Only 1% of the U.S. retail orders in the order bank have that order, that wheel. So that's still over capacity, though. So it might take a little longer than normal to get that scheduled. The XLT standard wheel, the 18-inch Sparkle Silver, 1 to 2%. 1% of the retail orders have that on there. So within the production numbers there. 20-inch Ebony Black High Gloss Black Premium Painted Wheel. That's the included in the Black Appearance Package. 1 to 4%. That's a pretty good gap there. 1% is an unscheduled retail order. So that's not going to be a constraint there. And then King Ranch version, we talked about that in general, is 1 to 1.5%. And 2% is unscheduled retail orders. And then why you might see King Ranch and then that wheel being different, depending on, because you can get a King Ranch with a chrome package. So a chrome package wheel would make it probably easier for you to get scheduled. Crew cab with an 8-foot box. That's a 176-inch wheelbase for the dualies. 6 to 8%, and 7% is the amount of unscheduled retail orders. So within that capacity as well. So again, if that retail orders is within the capacity of what the production level is, you're good. If there's more retail orders than what their capacity is or what their normal production rate is, that's bad. That's why it might take longer for your order to get scheduled. So that's where we'd call it a constraint right there. All right, next up is a 26 model year F-150. The order banks are open up for the F-150. They are scheduled this week at Dearborn for the weeks of April 27th to the weeks of May 11th. It does say they're only scheduling at Dearborn, not at Kansas City. So you're aware of that. So let's talk about some of the availability here. It does say in here, please consider removing the Max Trailer Tow package from your orders. Then also it says, please consider removing the factory installed keypad due to low availability. So again, whatever the capacity is, if you know, and it doesn't actually mention that one in there, what the percentage is, their capacity is, but there's a lot of people ordering that because people want it. Just make it standard Ford and ramp up your production level on that, and we should be good. But anyway, all right, availability, Super Cruise. So all Super Cruise, right? Doesn't matter what trim level. 46% is the capacity and the availability there. Unscheduled retail orders is only 7%, so well within that capacity. 3.5 liter Power Boost full hybrid engine, 6% is the production level. Only 1% of the retail orders have that configuration. Again, that's a good thing. 2.7 liter V6 EcoBoost engine, that is about 0 to 1%, so about 1%, and there's 1% unscheduled retail orders in the order bank. So again, that's barely within the capacity there. 3.5 liter V6 EcoBoost engine, 26% of them will be made with that engine. Only 2% of the unscheduled retail orders in the order bank have that engine. 5.0 liter V8 engine, 19% capacity, only 2% of the unscheduled retail orders have that configuration. And the 20-inch black gloss black painted wheel, 10%, only 1% of orders have that. So you can see almost every configuration is within its capacity, which is a great thing. So most people aren't going to be waiting for an F-150 to get scheduled for production date, unless you're looking at Raptor, because we didn't talk about Raptor in any of this. Raptor's a little bit different scenario. Not a lot of dealers are getting a lot of allocations. If you have a lot of orders at a dealer, but they don't have a lot of allocations, then it will take longer to get yours scheduled. So, all right, next up is a 26 model year Transit. Order banks are open up. They are scheduled this week for the weeks of April 20th and the week of April 27th. And same notes as last week, 16-inch matte black alloy wheel and the 16-inch sparkle silver alloy wheel are exhausted. So think about switching to that silver steel wheel option 641. Also, the 16-inch heavy duty forged aluminum wheel is exhausted. So think about going with that silver steel wheel. That is wheel option 64F instead. And the high roof should be available through March. So that's body code X2X and X9X if you are ordering those that way. So there you go. That is all our scheduling notes we have for this week. Again, most of the models are not scheduling except for F-150 Super Duty and Transit. Those are your commercial vehicles, so they'll always schedule almost every week. So good luck to everybody out there that has one of those configurations of those vehicles, those trucks. And next week, we should have a full set of allocations. So if you've been waiting to put an order, now is the time. You need to get that order in this week, because next week, next Thursday, they're going to schedule a lot of retail orders using the dealer's allocations that are refreshed. So you want to have full capacity, full availability. That is going to happen next week. So make sure if you're on the fence, get that order in now before it's too late. Because again, the beginning of the month, that's when a lot of action happens. As you can see at the end of the month, or the carryover onto the beginning of the month, like this week, is usually where we see no scheduling at all happening. So you want to get that order in so it can get scheduled for those. I think we're going to be scheduling for June production dates, believe it or not. Wow, it's already March. Anyway, all right. Actually be scheduling for May production dates, right? Yeah, May production dates, sorry. So that's what we have for this week. So hopefully you guys did like it. Smash that like button, also hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell if you're not subscribed. And until the next video, stay positive, be kind to one another, be kind to yourself. We'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.